What's up, everybody? Sports Dude here, and we are back for the Sports Dudes podcast, episode number 4. So, guys, welcome back. We are here. Plenty of sports topics around this random and wild week for sports, from NFL transactions, of course, MLB's now kicking off spring training, to UFC 196. Yes, I will talk about the interesting UFC events, as well as a couple of MLB 16 to show topics and video game talk as well. So a really fun, I think, episode of Sports Dudes podcast today, as we got a lot to talk about. But yeah, definitely, of course, we'll talk about Peyton Manning's retirement. Anybody you see the thumbnail, we'll talk a little bit about the draft. I did have one fan question that pertains to the draft, so that's the reason for the thumbnail. So we'll get into all of those cool topics, but nonetheless, let's run down through the usual. Once again, yeah, I am the Sports Dude, and if you have not already, make sure you subscribe to my channel, and make sure you follow me on Twitter and Twitch as well, if you want to, that'd be great. Anywho, if you want to send in a fan question for me, as always, you can send any fan question you want. It could be about sports. It could be anything you want, video game reviews, thoughts, anything that pertains to really anything. Like I said, if it's a hey, I'll say hey back. But if it's something I can talk about the podcast, that's awesome. And then just leave it down below in the comment section. Any video you guys want, that'd be absolutely great. So, for this episode, we'll talk about a few topics, and I also have one minor update, like I mentioned back in the last episode. But we'll start with the NFL transactions. We'll run through a lot of it. The first one I wanted to talk about was Brock Osweiler. I'll talk about Peyton Manning as well. We'll get into that. Brock Osweiler has accepted a deal to go to the Texans, agree to a contract, going to the Texans. That one's a surprising one for me for a number of reasons. I mean, he seemed like he was the future for the Broncos with Peyton retiring, and they had the quarterback right there. Osweiler did not do a bad job. He really didn't. He played quite well. This is his first year he's started, first regular season start. He's been in the league for quite some time now, so it's kind of ironic for him to finally get the first start, but him to leave to go to the Texans, who have a really rough offense and just a rough team all around. You had a lot in the wake there. You had a lot going for you. You just won a championship with the Broncos. You had a great quarterback in front of you who probably taught you quite a bit, and you had weapons. You had guys like Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders helping you out, and now you're going to go to DeAndre Hopkins, and then that's about it. You got one big target, but that's about it. You had a lot of extra weapons on the Broncos side that you really had made there, and you just won a Super Bowl. But I guess going to the Texans it's a head scratcher for me. It really is. But he did get a nice contract. He really was paid like he's a starting quarterback. And he really wasn't. I mean, he just started because Peyton was kind of banged up and was struggling through the middle point there of the season. And then he's now, he won the Super Bowl and now he retired. But speaking of Peyton retiring, I mean, what an unbelievable career. I mean, the guy, 20-plus seasons, is 39 years old. I mean, turning almost 40. And it's unbelievable to even talk about it. Obviously, a first-ballot Hall of Famer, and I'm happy for him. I'm happy he gets the miracle run. I mentioned this a few podcasts earlier. I'm happy he gets the Cinderella story. I really am. It's awesome to see. He's a great guy all around, and, I mean, tons of NFL records now are under his name. It's really cool to see from, all yards, just unbelievable seasons he's had. Many, great duos with Marvin Harrison, and he's had just quite a bit of great receivers to work with, and been an all-around great quarterback. Obviously, the neck injury he had did diminish his ability to play. It did, from I believe that was 2013, he really hurt his neck, and that was rough for him leaving the Colts and then going to the Broncos, but ends up winning a Super Bowl, and that was quite ironic, and I'm happy to see Peyton. Hopefully he will do something else in the NFL. I believe it's commentating or a coach. I think a coach could really be beneficial for him. He's basically a coach in the field anyways when he was playing. He knows offenses and defenses like the back of his hand. Or his defenses really both. So if he could be a coach, that'd be great. He'd really definitely help out a team, whether it be a QB coach or a head or offensive coordinator, something like that, because he definitely knows the game of football. But commentator booth would be great too. Fox, I think, would be happy to have him as color commentator. I think that'd be definitely what he'll do. I don't think he's gonna be out of football entirely. That's just probably not going to be him. He's been in football for so long, so I think he'll definitely do something with football. And I'm excited to see what he could do, but definitely an unbelievable career. And I think Hall of Fame is coming very soon since he just retired. So I definitely think he'll be coming real soon. But I'm happy for Peyton. But, it's weird to see Osweiler leave, though. It's weird because now I don't even know who's an active roster quarterback they have right now. I mean, is there even one? Do they have an active quarterback right now that's going to lead their football team? I don't believe so. I really don't. You lose Osweiler, you lose Peyton, and today, just read this a few minutes ago, an article posted, C.J. Anderson has agreed to a contract sheet from the Dolphins. Now, the Broncos have 5 days now to respond, but that was basically their starting running back. I mean, from losing Monty Ball, I believe, a year ago, and you really don't have a great running back. Ronnie Hillman kind of fell off. And CJ didn't have a great year last year, but he's basically your starting running back. That's a little concerning. You know, you're a Super Bowl winning team, but you just lost your quarterback. You lost your basically what you were banking on to have in Osweiler, and now potentially your starting running back. That's pretty scary from a Super Bowl winning team right there. That's definitely something to keep an eye on. Speaking of other quarterbacks, RG3 in this past week was released from the Washington Redskins, which that does not come as a surprise for me. I mean, he battled injuries. That's enough said. Simply put, he battled injuries. The guy's a pretty talented player. He really is. I mean, he's able to run, but it just didn't work out. Injuries killed him from an ACL. He could not stay healthy, and that killed him. And Kirk Cousins passed him up. Kirk Cousins is really a fine quarterback. He really is. Led the Washington Redskins, I believe, into the playoffs this year. And that's surprising, but Kirk can do it, man. He played great, and he's actually suspended now for 1 game, I heard today. But that's kind of crazy. But nonetheless, he still is the answer for the Redskins, and he definitely proved out to be better. I mean, 3rd-round pick from Cousins and a 1st-round overall pick from the RG3. And it turned out the Redskins, you know, got lucky with picking Cousins because RG3 hasn't really worked out that well. I do believe he will get another chance. I don't see him going NFL-less. Even Tim Tebow's got other chances too. Tebow went to the Eagles, and he's had chances and chances. I could see that happening with my guy there. Who's I talking about? Just lost what I was talking about. RG3. There you go. RG3. RG3. I think RG3 will be the guy who maybe get another shot. Maybe Dallas is calling him. I mentioned this with Johnny Manziel. Dallas seems like that type of team. I don't know if they're really going to be behind Romo anymore. And maybe a backup could be calling either of those two guys, Manziel or RG3. So we'll definitely have to see what transpires in these few upcoming weeks here. But the NFL transactions just boom, right there, just coming in and just shaking everything up. A few more here. Another one, DeMarco Murray traded to the Tennessee Titans. That's not really a big surprise. The Eagles are always in the headlines. I mean, it's Chip Kelly to, the LaShawn and Murray. Just all these Eagle headlines. And Sam Bradford, of course. But yeah, this one's a surprising one in my opinion. I mean, Murray getting traded, but he had a terrible year. I mean, I believe I had Murray in fantasy. It was rough. It was very rough. DeMarco Murray had a very underwhelming season. He showed, that offensive line for Dallas was quite needed. I mean, really enough said. He had a great year in Dallas, few seasons in Dallas. Really broke out with them and then just fell on his face last year. So that was terrible to see. But now going to Tennessee Titans, I mean, the Tennessee Titans had the 1st overall pick, and they get Murray. You got a nice young quarterback in Mariota to probably lead your team into the future. And Dorial Green-Beckham, some nice weapons there. So I'm maybe the Tennessee Titans are looking and trying to rebound, which is quite interesting to see. But we'll definitely see there. And a couple of more here. We got some of the Chicago Bears are in these story headlines, I guess you would say. One of them is Danny Trevathan, speaking of the Broncos earlier. The left outside linebacker from the Broncos, I believe a Pro Bowler in his own right. 6th-round draft pick from 2012. Turned out to be a fine player. Now, he's not anything like maybe I would say, he's not a great player, maybe a Von Miller type opposite of him, but he is a solid player nonetheless. That's a big pickup for the Bears. I believe it was a $38 million deal today I was reading. So that's solid. That's a big upgrade for the Chicago Bears, who don't have any linebackers really at all, from Lance Briggs pretty much calling it quits. His body's breaking down, and Shane McClellan hasn't worked out at all, really. So you've lost a big number of pieces. And you really need a big linebacker like that, and Trevathan really can help out that defense. You lose Julius Peppers, you lose guys like Jared Allen, so you lost a lot of big players. I mean, they traded Allen earlier this season, they got rid of Peppers as well. So, I mean, they need some other talent. A lot of teams are in the building process. A lot of them are. And that's why this draft coming up, I believe in April or May. I don't remember where it is this year. I know where it is, but I don't remember when it's actually taking place. But that should be fun to see. There's not many big all-star prospects, prospects like people coming out this year, but it still should be fun nonetheless. And then the other one, like I was mentioning, to Bobby Massey. This is kind of an underrated move. I heard this one as well. Bobby Massey's a right tackle, but it kind of helps out when I'm talking about here. But Bobby Massey's a right tackle for the Arizona Cardinals, and he was acquired by the Chicago Bears as well. But the interesting part of this all really is this allows Kyle Long, the All-Pro right guard, to move back to his original position at right guard. He was the right tackle this past season. Now it goes back to right guard with the addition of Bobby Massey, with Jerron Bushrod, former New Orleans Saint, who left early this season, or left early, I believe, a couple of months ago. I believe January he left. The Bears cut ties with him, I believe, because of money issues, which I can totally, get a huge salary cap hit. That's why a lot of guys were released. That's speaking of Mike Wallace as well. Speaking of all his NFL transactions, Mike Wallace was cut ties after one season for the Vikings because he had just a huge cap hit, had a terrible season. A lot of, like, you make the case for a lot of those players in the NFL. I mean, it's really one and done. You sign a nice fat contract, you underwhelm, and you're gone because you have such a salary cap hit, and that really affects teams big time. And that's why guys like Mike Wallace are gone, and Jerron Bushrod was one of those guys as well. So that's what I feel there. But that's interesting to see Kyle Long being back in his original position. I probably was a little frustrated playing at right tackle, and he's probably best suited to play right guard. That's his normal position. And speaking of right guard, transitioning in, I believe he's a left guard actually, Logan Mankins, former New England Patriot, and most recently the former Tampa Bay Buccaneer, has retired from the NFL as well. Quite a bit of retirements from Lynch to Johnson to Manning to Mankins now, quite a bit all the way around. But Logan Mankins, really an unbelievable guard. I mean, you gotta get him. He's an unbelievable guard, and it's gonna be a big loss for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's going to be a big one there. I've always been a fan of Logan Mankins. Been a solid blocker. And if he's a New England offensive lineman, I mean, Tom Brady has tons of time in the pocket. And then he went over to Tampa Bay and now calls it quits, I believe, at the age of 31, which is kind of quite young. But, then we'll talk about here my question. I'll talk about the UFC first. So UFC results will transition in here. UFC 196 happened this past weekend, which I was a little surprised, obviously, what happened. Conor McGregor, who was on the cover of Sports Illustrated and has got so much buzz and he's a big trash talker and everything like that, was shocked in defeat by Nate Diaz. I believe McGregor was like I said, my UFC knowledge is like asking me about horses, but I still was keeping up about it. It was a huge topic this past weekend, so I'll dive into it a little bit. I was definitely surprised that McGregor lost, but he was 2 weight classes, I believe, above what he normally is. I believe he's the featherweight champion, and he's 2 weight classes than he already is in. That was with Diaz. He's fighting with Diaz. So that's, if you really look at it, then that's why he lost, really. But he did pretty much just got beaten right there. Another one, too, was the other match I'll talk about, or fight, Holly Holm versus Miesha Tate. And Holly Holm got stunned in defeat by Tate beating her. Well, that's definitely going to, the question's now coming, when's Rousey coming back? And it's going to be Rousey versus Tate, who Rousey's beaten twice, and it's going to be Rousey versus Tate in the third, match, Rousey-Tate 3. So there's the 196 breakdown, which I'm just shocked that Conor McGregor lost, though. I mean, when you check the internet on that Saturday, that was surprising. You just look up Conor McGregor, and he stuns in defeat. That definitely surprised me right there. Sportsduude was surprised. I was definitely surprised that McGregor lost, but I think he's still an unbelievable talent and still highly rated in the EA UFC sports game that's coming out, I believe, in like 10 days or something like that. Coming out pretty soon, which I will be picking up if you're wondering. I think it's going to be a really fun game. I'll give it a shot this year. I didn't give it a shot last year, but I think I'll give it a shot this year. And speaking of video games as well, MLB 16 The Show, like I mentioned a few times. Oh my goodness, am I super pumped for that game. Super fun. I just recently watched the franchise mode vlog where they talked about all these cool new stats. I'll dive into it a little bit here. We got the new stat called FIP and fielding, like your percentage is like fielding percentage as a pitcher, and then your WAR, wins above replacement. So 2 really advanced stats that a lot of baseball gurus know about. They've added those to the game. A lot of cool stats they've added to the franchise mode, which I will be doing this year. I got to find the right team. I got to make sure I get the proper roster out. It will be the Operation Sports rosters, which I'll wait for, and I will be able to get them. And then I'll be able to start my franchise. It will take a little bit. I'm not going to get it day one and then start my franchise. I'll get it, and then I got to find out which team I want to do, get all my roster set, and then be able to run with it. So that's basically the objective. That's what I'll probably do. But that's coming out March 29th with Josh Johnson on the cover. So it shouldn't be nonetheless a great video game. It always is, but it's always so fun to play MLB when the season's back now. Spring training's here. It's always a fun time, always. So, and I think that's pretty much all I wanted to run down. Oh, one more. We got the update. Pretty much, of course, you probably saw my career. I mentioned, I believe, last episode, but more clarification this one. NBA 2K16, my career has officially been deleted from my channel. It's done. I'm sorry if you're a fan of it, but this was sheer just me getting bored. I've tried my career a few times, and I've got into it, got excited, then failed, and then got into it, got excited, and failed. I've just canceled a few times. It's really not my thing. Enough said. But unfortunately, it's just not my game. And that's pretty much going to be wrapping into my last question, and basically wrapping up this episode. One question of the day today is, who will be the first overall pick in the 2016 draft? And like I mentioned, the Tennessee Titans picking up quite a bit of pieces with DeMarco Murray, and you're picking up guys like, you got Mariota, you got guys like Dorial Green-Beckham, you got a nice team. And one of those guys they're probably going to get is don't hold me to it here, Laremy Tunsil from Ole Miss, who is a big-time, like, monster of a beast tackle, I believe, from Ole Miss. I have not watched any tape on him, but I've been reading some draft projections, definitely from Mike Mayock, NFL Network, who is a awesome guy for the NFL draft. He basically rated Tunsil as, like, the number one prospect. There's not, like I said, there's not many, like, big prospects that I, like, know. I didn't really follow college football as much as I really wanted to. But I still am not hearing about, like, these, there's not many of those big, like, hot shot prospects coming out this year. But Laremy Tunsil probably is going to be your number one overall pick for the Titans, who need some offensive linemen. I don't really think Chance Warmack, who was their right guard from Alabama, they took. I believe that's 2014. They took him. He didn't really work out the greatest. And I think they take Taylor Lewan as well, who didn't work out the greatest, I think, either. So I think this Tunsil guy could be a big pickup for them, nonetheless. So that is going to be it, guys. I enjoy talking with you. It's always a lot of fun. Thank you for watching this Sportsduude podcast, episode number 4. Running about 17 minutes strong here, so pretty solid. But nonetheless, make sure you, like I mentioned, drop some questions down below so we can have maybe more than one. That'd be great to spice things up a little bit, get into some different topics as well. If I forget anything, if there's some NFL topics that, like, you want me to address and I might forget, like if it's something I don't remember, like if it's a minor move I can elaborate on, or I missed it. Some of those I missed. Sometimes they pop into my head, like the Mike Wallace one I just popped in. I saw it, and then just didn't, like, write it down. I have my notepad literally right next to me, and it's got all my just topics that's, just one by one. That's the only way I can get through this podcast. I just get all my topics and just, keep them right there so I can talk about them. Simple as that. But I thank you guys for watching this. As always, make sure you go and drop a like down below. Can we get 5 likes? That'd be super, super awesome. Appreciate all your support, guys. I thank you so very much. It means a lot to me. I appreciate it. Have a great day, guys, and I'll talk to you guys later.